Close to 50 democratic activists have appeared in a Hong Kong court charged under national security laws, cracking down on subversion and dissent. The activists are accused of taking part in an unofficial election poll, which authorities say was an attempt to overthrow the government.
It is a complete nonsense charge by the government.
Chinese and Hong Kong authorities promised that the national security law would be used in a very narrow sense. It's clear that that is no longer being the case.
Even those who are not detained within custody of the police are still living in an increasingly constricted detention center of Hong Kong.
Adrian Brown is our Asia Correspondent. He joins me live now from Hong Kong. Adrian Brown, this is another concerning development in Hong Kong. Many activists are locked up, and certainly Hong Kong has the power to do that quite swiftly now. The safety of these people would surely be a concern at the moment.
Yeah, Laura, this is an extraordinary case because these defendants arrived at West Kowloon Magistrates Court on Monday morning at 11 a.m. They finally left the court at 3 a.m. on Tuesday morning, just 4 or 5 hours ago, because the prosecution, according to the defence, simply didn't have their act together. The prosecution have asked for more time to continue their investigations. The defence say they should be allowed out on bail, but the police say that shouldn't happen because the bail threshold in national security cases is much higher. Now, these 47 are accused of incitement to commit subversion, which means that this potentially carries a life sentence if they are convicted. So the issue at the moment is whether they're going to be given bail or not. I think that is highly unlikely because of the severity of the charges they are now facing. Just to remind viewers, they're accused of taking part and organising a primary ahead of elections, which were supposed to happen in September, but which were cancelled in the end by the government citing COVID-19. Now, they were selecting candidates for the pro-democracy camp to run in those elections. Their stated aim, was to gain a simple majority in Parliament, block legislation, and then eventually force the resignation of the chief executive, Carrie Lamb. But in today's Hong Kong, that sort of thing is enough to get you, arrested and charged under the national security law, even though those sort of tactics are recognised in democracies around the world.
Adrian, life has changed so much in Hong Kong for any activists or journalists or anyone upholding the foundations of democracy. Is there any fig leaf of democratic processes left there?
No, I don't think there are. And you got that sense of anger and desperation outside the court on Monday, where hundreds of people gathered in defiance of the national security law, in defiance of social distancing rules. And many people were detained for breaching those social distancing rules. But it's a measure of just how far they're prepared to go, and also a reflection of the simmering anger that there is still beneath the surface here in Hong Kong. The government says the national security law has restored stability, but I think what you have is actually fake stability. As to what people are going to do in Hong Kong, well, I think the choice is simple. You either leave or you stay silent. Many people are preparing to take their skills to places like Australia, Britain, Canada, and the United States. And once COVID restrictions have been lifted and people can travel normally again, I think that exodus will begin. As to what the Hong Kong government and the Chinese government thinks about that, I think that publicly there's sort of indignation, but I think privately they're quite sanguine about it all, because they know that just across the border in mainland China are millions of skilled white-collar professionals who would welcome the opportunity of coming to live and work in Hong Kong, because in spite of all that's going on right now, it remains the freest city in China.